It was a crisp Monday morning in downtown Wellridge. Dressed neatly in her school uniform, a navy blazer pleated skirt and classic loafers, 14-year-old Elena Monroe stepped into the tall glass building of Granvia Trust Bank. Small in stature but steady in gaze, Elena carried a mix of pride and nervous anticipation. Today was no ordinary day. She came alone. No mother. No teacher. Just Elena and a $5,000 check awarded for her outstanding academic performance after years of effort. It wasn't just a number. It was proof of sleepless nights, quiet hours of tutoring, and the dream of rising from a modest family background. She walked to the counter, clutching a folder containing her scholarship confirmation student ID and personal documents. Everything was in order. Elena wanted to complete this transaction on her own, not because anyone required her to, but because she believed she was ready to take the first steps toward independence. What she didn't know was that just minutes from now, this seemingly professional and fair space would ask her a question. "A girl like you, where did you get this check?" And from that moment, nothing would remain simple. As Elena placed the check on the glass counter, the young teller named Liam froze. His eyes quickly scanned the amount, then flicked up to her with a look colder than the morning air. From the back stepped a middle-aged woman in a form-fitting gray dress, a luxury watch at her wrist, and heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. Marlene Drew, branch director of Granvia Trust, known for proudly claiming nothing escapes her scrutiny. She looked Elena up and down. Her eyes said more than her lips ever needed to. Then in a low but clearly audible voice she asked, "A $5,000 check. From where?" Young lady Elena's fingers tightened slightly on her folder. "It's a merit scholarship from the Clarendon Education Fund." "I have the confirmation letter here." Her voice was calm, though her breath trembled. Liam held the check up to the light, inspecting it like counterfeit currency. Then he turned to Marlene. Their eyes met, brief but filled with doubt. "We'll need to verify this." Marlene spoke without even looking at Elena. She stood there surrounded by well-dressed adults in a pristine bank lobby, and in an instant she no longer felt like an accomplished student, just another case for review. Elena gave a small nod, trying to stay composed, but her heart pounded faster. She hadn't brought her phone, it was still in her school locker, and her mother was in a meeting. There was no one she could call, no one to explain on her behalf. "May I call my mom? She's expecting me home." Elena's voice softened. "That's not our concern," Marlene replied coldly, arms crossed. "You'll wait until we finish the verification." No one said another word. No offer to sit. No empathetic glance. Elena stood silently in the polished lobby. Around her were custom-tailored suits, the clack of keyboards, the rustle of papers, yet no one saw her as a person. She began to notice the stares, some fleeting, some whispering. Each minute stretched like an hour. Every passing second etched another layer of humiliation into her. The cool marble beneath her feet now felt like ice spreading through her limbs. She didn't know how to respond. She remembered her mother's advice. "Stay composed. You are light, and light doesn't need to shout to be seen." But today that light felt smothered by a thick fog of doubt and quiet prejudice. She began to realize the problem wasn't the check. Elena still stood there like a shadow no one acknowledged. Others came and went, signed papers, withdrew money, chatted casually, but she remained frozen as if locked out of the normal flow of life. No one approached. No one cared. A 14-year-old girl with all her documents was still seen as an uncertainty, or worse, an unwelcome presence. She glanced toward the corner where Marlene was now cheerfully escorting a white middle-aged couple to the VIP area, her smile bright and polished. not long before an Asian man with a thick accent had been turned away coldly. Systems slow. "Come back later." A bitter truth took root inside Elena. Not everyone gets verified. Not everyone has to stand like she did waiting invisible cold. Discrimination, subtle, unnamed, yet unmistakable, wrapped around her like the chill of her uniform skirt. Her hands clenched. Not out of anger, but pain. She remembered her mother's words. "You can't control how others look at you, but you can always control how you respond." But today, those lessons felt so far away. Because the rejection didn't come from a single person, it came from a space, a system. And for the first time in her life, Elena realized, sometimes you must speak up, even if it's only inside yourself, just to keep from falling apart. Still standing in the corner, Elena was nearly numb from the long wait and the quiet erosion of dignity. But in that stillness, her gaze sharpened as if her brain had switched into survival mode. She spotted Marlene Drew speaking with a tall, sharply dressed man she didn't recognize. They stood near a small conference room at the end of the hall, the overhead light casting a glow on his silver-streaked hair. Though far away, Elena could sense this was no routine conversation. Marlene's eyes were cautious. Then she handed the man a yellow folder labeled "Confidential." Elena's heart skipped a beat. She caught a glimpse of the word Clarendon in the corner, the very name of the scholarship fund that awarded her. Elena squinted. Could this have something to do with her mother? The man looked oddly familiar. Her mind raced. Then suddenly the name Victor Langston surfaced. CEO of Granvia Trust's biggest rival, the same man her mother had mentioned during a tense late-night Zoom meeting. "He's tried everything to sabotage the Clarendon deal, but I held the line." And now Elena understood this wasn't just personal suspicion. This was betrayal, an insider conspiracy. Everything she had endured, the waiting, the dismissive glances, the isolation, was just the tip of the iceberg. And beneath it was something colder than the marble floor beneath her. Elena felt a heavy pressure in her chest, as if someone had placed a stone on it. She had never imagined that a simple bank deposit would lead her to the edge of a corporate betrayal. Her hand drifted toward the brown leather notebook in her bag, a gift from her mother when she earned the scholarship. "Use this to record what makes you proud," her mother had said. But today, she opened it for a different reason. Her fingers trembled, but her handwriting remained steady. 10:42 a.m. Marlene. Drew handed folder marked "Confidential" to Victor Langston. Location: conference room, a corner. Tone hushed, evasive. "I saw the word Clarendon. Langston was the man Mom fought in that deal." She looked around, no one noticed. Marlene had returned to the front desk, but in a fleeting moment their eyes met, and Elena saw it, a flicker of wariness in Marlene's carefully curated expression. She knew. Elena sat down in the waiting area, eyes locked on her notebook. She wasn't a cop, she wasn't a journalist, but she knew this. If she said nothing, if she let this go, like so many buried injustices before then tomorrow, some other kid would walk into this place and be treated as suspicious too. No, she wouldn't let that happen. Not today, and not here. The revolving glass doors turned slowly. Every eye in the Granvia Trust lobby lifted and then froze. Elena Monroe, Elena's mother, stepped in. Her face was composed, but her eyes were sharp as steel. Hair neatly pulled back, a deep navy suit without a single crease, her petite frame carried a presence that shifted the very air around her. She said nothing, and yet the entire room changed. Behind the counter, Marlene Drew shot up, her face stiffening. "Mrs. Monroe, I wasn't expecting you today." Clarice didn't respond. She walked directly to Elena and gently placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Are you okay?" Her voice was low but tightly restrained. Elena nodded. Without hesitation, she reached into her bag and pulled out her brown notebook. "There's something you need to hear, and everyone else should hear it too." She began to read each note, each timestamp, each detail, the covert exchange, the folder labeled confidential marked with the name Clarendon, the presence of Victor Langston, the very man who had tried to buy out the scholarship fund her mother had just acquired. The bank fell silent. Marlene's face drained of color. Clarice paused, then turned to face her. "Ms. Drew, you didn't just mistreat my daughter. You used your position to betray this company. You will be investigated immediately." A collective exhale rose from the onlookers. A ripple of unease passed through the air. But Clarice wasn't finished. "And as for holding my daughter here without cause, humiliating her in public, I won't let that slide. Not because she's my child, but because she's a child who held onto her dignity even when the adults didn't." The entire bank lobby held its breath. Keyboards stopped clicking. Some employees shrank behind their partitions, but no one looked away from the confrontation unfolding between two women, one representing true authority, the other exposed for the illusion she clung to. Marlene Drew, branch director of Granvia Trust, stood frozen. Her lips moved as if searching for a defense, but no sound came. Elena, now standing tall beside her mother, felt her legs rooted stronger than ever. Clarice pulled out her phone, dialing directly to the bank's board chair. Her message was clear and concise. "I have evidence of confidential data being leaked and a clear case of discriminatory behavior at the Wellridge branch. The individual involved, Marlene Drew. I recommend immediate suspension." Marlene looked up, a silent plea in her eyes. But the only reply was a uniformed security guard walking toward her. "Ma'am, I'll need you to come with me per directives from the executive board." This time, the voice of enforcement was not aimed at Elena. Marlene walked away. Her heels echoed hollowly on the floor. The same sound that once commanded attention now rang empty, the loneliest sound in the building. Clarice turned to the room, her gaze passing over each staff member and customer. "Respect is not a privilege. It is a basic right. And from today forward, this place will be rebuilt on that foundation." A slow, quiet applause began at the back from Liam, the young teller, who had once doubted Elena. He gave her a slight bow. No words, just the weight of recognition. Elena didn't respond, but she smiled not out of triumph, but because finally someone had listened. A week after the incident at Granvia Trust, Elena Monroe received a special invitation from her school's leadership. "We believe you have something important to share with your peers." That Friday morning, standing on the stage of Westridge Academy's main auditorium, Elena addressed the student body. Her face no longer bore the fear she had felt that day at the bank. Instead, her gaze was calm, firm, not pleading to be heard, but speaking so that others wouldn't have to stay silent. She recounted everything, not with drama nor exaggeration, just the truth. The way a system could turn a child into a suspect, because of her skin color or simply because she didn't fit the mold. The scariest thing, Elena said, isn't being doubted. It's feeling like you're not worth trusting. She spoke of Marlene, of the confidential folder, of the look in her mother's eyes when she found her daughter standing like a nameless figure in a place that should have been safe. Then Elena ended with something small yet unforgettable. "The first time my mom gave me this notebook, she told me, 'Use it to record what makes you proud.' Back then I thought she meant test scores, but today I understand it's about keeping your dignity, even when someone tries to take it from you." The auditorium erupted in applause, not for a hero, but for a girl brave enough to stand and remain fully herself. Since that day, Elena became the face of the Equality in Everyday Spaces initiative, a program launched by her mother, now adopted throughout the Granvia Trust network and local schools. It all began with a $5,000 check, but ended with something far greater. Real change doesn't always begin with adults. Sometimes it begins with a girl who says, "I'm here and I deserve to be heard."